So we are now going to have our panel on the final panel of the day, the digital single market, the way forward. So I'm going to ask our panelists to please join me on stage. We invite back the Vice Prime Minister of Slovakia, Petr Pellegrini, Dita Charanzová, Member of the European Parliament for the Czech Republic, the Honourable Minister Emmanuel Malia, Minister for Competitiveness and Digital Maritime and Services Economy in Malta, who, I remind you, will hold the presidency next year, and Eva Kaili, who is a Member of European Parliament for Greece. So please welcome my new panellists. Have a seat, everybody. Do make yourselves comfortable. Thank you so much for joining us. Does this not come down to the education and, reducing the brain drain? Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Well, indeed, I think the major challenge for us here is really to see what actually worked in the past. I see there a difference between the Western European hubs and the Eastern European hubs. And I think we don't have to always reinvent the wheel, because we have already a lot of existing tools, a lot of existing programs that work. So I think it's already up to us to really develop them and progress further. The other issue that you mentioned, and I fully agree, is the digital skills. It has been mentioned several times during the previous panels. This is the future. I mean, we have to start with the elementary school. We have to start in every region, because we really want to create a new generation of users. And I'm sorry to say that some of the countries, especially also this part of the Europe, is really lagging behind in this regard.
Yeah. Eva, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, if you ask a politician, we always have something to add about almost everything, which shouldn't be the case. Well, I would like basically highlight the meaning of trust. And this is the main problem about everything. So if we don't have citizens and businesses using what the Internet of Things is providing, then we'll not be able to have enough data to improve. So I think it's extremely important to work on that, and of course lift the barriers among the member states, which is the main focus of what we do in the European Parliament. Because I saw you mentioned the geo-blocking. I'm working on this report. So basically, we're trying to lose geo-blocking to lift the barriers, but still we have to enable cooperation without limiting it, but also protect the content and the creators and the intellectual property rights. So you understand it's a very complicated situation. Somebody was interested in that. So I think it's extremely important for creative industries to protect them, but also to give them a bigger market to attract. Because some people of my country, they told me, it's more easy to export through online platforms to China because it's one market, big market, instead of 28 different member states. Well, we have to change that. So basically, we have to lift the barriers and gain back trust. This is what is a huge problem in politics in general. When citizens lose trust to the system, then we see the failure of the government, then we see the failure of the political parties, and I think we have the same examples everywhere. I would say that the increase of Euroscepticism is about that. They don't trust the system, so they vote people that are against the system. So I think we have to regain confidence in everything.
Yeah.
The government should work together.
Eva, I mean, it's fair to say that there's a plus and minus here. We should encourage startups, but at the same token, do we run the risk in Europe with, too much enforced regulation, too much enforced opening up? Are we running the risk of maybe driving some of those big tech employers out of Europe to places where there is already a sort of a single body of policy making to deal with? Are we overcomplicating things to attract the big companies?
Well, allow me to say that this is our job, basically to protect the citizens when we see that sometimes it becomes abusing to have a monopoly in something. But I believe the European Union is protecting the citizens and the industry from this kind of these cases. We can say that we have so many European startups that they're managing to compete with US startups, for example. And we also have a very strong industry. We have invested, I mean, you have here Mr. Viola from the DG Connect. They're funding heavily the new startups and the IoT, the Internet of Things, heavily funding. And this, the results of the research and the scientists that we have basically to take advantage of it and help our industry to improve. So I don't think we lack good ideas, startups, and creative people. We have to try to make a bigger industry, maybe a more efficient one. But what I think the European Parliament is doing is legislating. We also make mistakes, but we're trying to improve, to create a more smart regulation that is actually protecting people. So I was recently visiting San Francisco and Silicon Valley, and they were telling me, they go there, they raise money, but to have quality and the rights, copyrights, the right to be forgotten, all of that, you can just find it in Europe. So basically, some of them, they move immediately back to a European member state. So you understand that I think we have the best environment for high quality and the rights to be protected. So what we have to do is take advantage of it and lead in the future, especially focusing on that. So I wouldn't be actually worried. I think if there is a place in the world where we protect the small and medium businesses against monopolies, that would be Europe.
Thank you very much. Eva Kaili.
Well, I would just like to highlight my definition of IoT. We used to have the internet connecting people. Now we do have devices, homes, and cities connected to each other. So we have the connecting things through the Internet of Things. I do believe that the opportunities are huge. We basically have devices having all the senses that people have. And I think we have to take the advantages on board. We're going to be improving in many ways. Everything will be better quality, faster, safer, cheaper, more accurate, and hopefully more fun to use. So I think we should focus on that. We also understand our responsibility to make people regain trust. I know that 75% of the European citizens are a bit worried about their data. So this is our job to make them feel sure that that their data will not be abused. And also, I would have to say that since we expect like 50 billion devices connected the next 5 years, and a huge value of some like 1.5 trillion to be created around the Internet of Things, we have to try to lead as a European Union. So just to make some final remarks about the importance of legislation, I would say that in the Parliament we had a discussion about the Uber. So some people were really worried about Uber taking the lead in the car industry. You know what? They said like, but they don't follow the legislation. Basically, there cannot be legislation for the technology that is so new. You cannot predict that an Uber or an Airbnb or Waze will come around. So we have to be alert. We have to have smart legislation by protecting basically people, because the future is now. It's actually happening. So thank you so much for having us, and congratulations for this amazing event. I think networking is really important. Thank you so much for having us, and also DG Connect for making it possible.
Thank you indeed.